For the past last week and then again today, our scriptures have highlighted the plight of the poor alongside the wealth and opulence of the rich. And there's always something that needs to be said when we speak about this contrast, because oftentimes we tend to think, well, you talk about richness and opulence, that's evil or that's wrong. Well, it only becomes evil and wrong when it is the desire of your life. That's what you live for, is riches and opulence without seeing the needs of others. Then it does become sinful. So the question we need to ask ourselves in light of these last weekend and today is, how do we use what we've been given? If we wrote up a list of the priorities in our lives, where would those worldly possessions we have accumulated fit in? How about caring for the less fortunate? Where would that fit in? These are questions the readings today and last week ask of all of us. So I'm going to use an experience that we all have to deal with and have dealt with to make a point in regard to these readings that we have heard. You're driving along and you're not in any great hurry, and you come to a busy intersection. You're the first car stopped by the red light, and standing next to your car window is a man with a sign stating that he is hungry and needs help. You see him, even though if you're honest with yourself, you would rather not see him. So now you're confronted with a dilemma. How do I respond to this? You might very well be thinking to yourself, what is he going to do if I give him money? Will I only be enabling him to continue languishing in a desperate sort of lifestyle? Will he use the money for some purpose other than food? Or could it possibly be that he is truly asking for help, real help? And if you decide you're going to think about giving him that help, would he need to prove to you that he's worthy of any gift that you give him? Is he one of those Amos speaks of in the first reading, the poor who cry out to the Lord? But let's look at this situation another way and a little more closely. Could it possibly be that the entire experience was meant to move you to look at your own life, my own life, your priorities and attitudes, my priorities and attitudes? It could very well be that in God's plan, this encounter has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with the man standing on the corner. Instead, it's a wake-up call for you and I to open our eyes to our own lives. It is only by God's limitless grace that the situation is not reversed, and we're the ones standing on the corner, and this poor man's driving the car and just looking at us. In our responsorial psalm today, the psalmist states that the Lord secures justice for the poor, gives food to the hungry, raises up those who are bowed down. The Lord hears the cries of the poor and seeks to be able to use you and I to meet their needs and to help them from their poverty. In today's parable, we hear Abraham say to the rich man who never cared for Lazarus when he had the opportunity. Let's do a footnote right here, because I get asked this all the time. Is this the Lazarus that Jesus raised from the dead in John chapter 11? The answer is no. This is another Lazarus, okay? So we need to remember that. People get confused about that. And here's what Abraham says to the rich man who never cared for Lazarus when he had the opportunity. Between us and you, a great chasm is established to prevent anyone from crossing who might wish to go from our side to yours or your side to ours. By his sin of omission, his sin of omission, just as much a sin as a sin of commission. The rich man created a rift between heaven and eternity which he's not ever going to be able to cross. Are you and I also creating such a rift we will never be able to cross when we fail to acknowledge those in our midst who desperately need our help? This life is the only opportunity that we have to close that rift. This life. If you ever pay attention, sometimes if you had to stand up here and preach, you might pay closer attention to the commercials, the advertisements, because a lot of times there's a hidden message in there. And in this case, I heard an advertisement this week that this little 1-minute advertisement spoke far better than I did in all these words I just shared with you. And it's an advertisement for a company named CarShield. And what this thing does is it's kind of an insurance that provides you, if you purchase their plans, protection from the overwhelming expense of major car repairs. And the spokesman for that company is a man by the name of Ice-T. Okay, I'm just trying to set the stage for you, okay? Ice-T. As this presentation comes to an end, he's warning us, man, you need to get this now. Take advantage of this now. Close this rift now. And then he says, because when the service engine light comes on, it will be too late.